When you think you cannot do something, think again. Chris always said, the body will do whatever the mind tells it to. I'm counting on that now. I stand before you, a broken woman, but I am now and always will be the wife of a man who is a warrior both on and off the battlefield. Some people along the way have told Chris that through it all, he was lucky I stayed with him. I'm standing before you now to set the record straight. Remember this, I am the one who is literally, in every sense of the word, blessed that Chris stayed with me. I feel compelled to tell you that I'm not a fan of people romanticizing their loved ones in death. I don't need to romanticize Chris because our reality is messy, passionate, full of every extreme emotion known to man, including fear, compassion, anger, pain, laughing so hard we doubled over and hugged it out, laughing when we were irritated with each other, and laughing when we were so in love it felt like someone hung the moon for only us. All of it, the messy, painful, constantly changing, crazy ride, was rolled up into the deepest, most soul-changing experience that only one man, Chris Kyle, could bring. Chris was all in, no matter what he did in life. If he loved you, and I mean really loved you, he did it without judgment. One of my clearest memories I'll relate to you now in an attempt to explain how he put me and others in his life at ease. The backstory is that Chris and I fell in love quickly. He was like a kid in a candy store and jumped into loving me with both feet and no looking back. It made me feel like pure gold because I thought he was the most uniquely idealistic, fun, loving, intelligent, intuitive, and sensitive man I had ever met. It was starting to weigh heavily on my heart that this amazing man had a love is blind thing going on. A couple of months into our relationship, we were in the car in Coronado, California, and I got up the courage to tell something to Chris that I felt was very important for him to know. As happy as I was with Chris when we were physically together, we lived in different cities, and my real life, meaning the time I was not physically in his company, was full of stress and anxiety for many different reasons. Chris, I think you need to know something, I confessed. I'm really messed up. I really struggle with a lot of things. Without batting an eye, and without pausing, he gently said, in a way only Chris could, "You're a package deal, babe. I love you. All of you." He grabbed my hand, and that was it. That was Chris for me through good and tough times. When I was hard on myself, he was the gentle force telling me that the sum of me, my failures, my successes, love, joy, anxiety, and pain were all rolled up into a package that was just fine by him. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for loving me. All of me. I want to take a minute and honor Chad Littlefield, because loving without judgment is what Chad gave to Chris also. Chad and Chris started with a clean slate. Chad met Chris as just another father on the ball field trying to love his family. In the craziness of life, Chad came along with his quiet, large presence and easy smile, complete with a rugged beard and dimples, and blessed Chris with a friendship that was the one thing Chris needed more than anything. It was effortless. Chad would just show up and share some laughs, or show up and not say a word depending on Chris's mood that day. Chad helped Chris get back into his workouts by doing one thing. He showed up. It was good for both of them. Chris used to tell me some mornings after a 5 a.m. workout with Chad, "Well, Chad and I were real chatty this morning." I would start laughing, knowing what was coming. "Oh yeah?" I would say. "Did y'all say one sentence or two?" A couple times, Chris shocked me by saying there were maybe a couple short bursts of conversations. Thanks for the glove. But it was 5 a.m. Neither one of them wanted to be there at 5 a.m. They were there because Chris needed it. If Chris had a particularly rough day, there were times he would mention it to Chad, and I have a feeling those conversations were as short as the 5 a.m. ones, plus or minus some. On those days, after the kids were in bed, it was common for Chad to just pop over for a visit. Chad and Leanne told us once they were Chris and my FBBs. That stood for Friends Before the Book. That was absolutely true, and we knew it. That didn't mean Chad didn't appreciate the legend and the seal in Chris, though. A little over a week ago, Chad showed up, as he often did, just after the kids had gone to bed. He sauntered in, Sonic bag and large soda in hand, with his usual smile, nod, and a "What's up, girl?" to me. That evening, he showed Chris a new rifle and scope he had just invested in and asked Chris to fix the scope for him. Chris was asking Chad all kinds of technical questions about what he wanted and needed with it. Chad just cocked his head sideways and laughed. "You tell me, brother." Chris went back to work, and Chad looked at me and said, "Chris Kyle is fixing my scope." "What?" In that tone he knew would crack us all up, and it did. The bottom line is this: if it was a workout Chris needed, Chad was in. If it was a quiet night of hanging out, Chad was in. Thank you, Chad. Thank you for being that effortless, no expectations, comforting friend that Chris needed. Chris and I both knew you loved him, and the feeling was mutual, my friend. I think you know that too. Kids, I will cherish the look on your dad's face, exactly like the one here on this easel, that lit up his face when you would both come running across the house, just to take a flying leap into his arms and tell him how much you missed him when he was gone. He loved that. I hope you know with all your heart that being your dad is the highlight of your dad's life. He would always shake his head and wonder how he got so lucky to be with you. I honestly do not remember a night where Daddy and I would tuck you in and wouldn't say, "Man, we are so blessed to have you two kids." Bubba, your dad is so impressed by your intelligence, your kind heart, and your athletic ability, among many other things. He loved to make you laugh. If it was inappropriate and made you laugh, he did it more, just to see you laugh longer. He loved the way you hugged him and sat, cuddled up next to him on the couch. You made him feel like the best dad in the world. He called you his little man because in so many ways, He already sees the man in you, and he's proud. He loves you beyond measure. Baby girl, Daddy had no idea what having a daughter would be like. He soon found out that you would soften and melt his heart with your many kisses and hugs, or you would squeeze him and not let go, or the way if his lap was empty, you would crawl up there and fill it up. You love him in a way that is different than anything he has ever known. It always has and always will delight him to no end. He loved your jokes and loved the way you would be his sweet little girl, all with a no-holds-barred attitude, like the way you told him off in the sweetest and most sincere way after the Six Flags ride scared you. Above all else, he loves you wholly and completely, and he knows you also thought he was the best dad in the world. So, my sweet angels, we will put one foot in front of the other and remember how silly Dad was and how we all made fun of his Texas twang. We will laugh at how we would poke the bear. And we will hug each other tightly, just like Dad would do with us. We will pray the prayers he prayed with us. We will remember that your dad has so much pride in your manners, your good sportsmanship, and your friendship to each other, and we will continue them all. We will remember that his baby girl and his Bubba mean the world to him, and that he didn't just talk about that. He loved you, and he lived his life to show you. Okay. Chris, there isn't enough time to tell you everything you mean to me and everything you taught me. I know you had no idea you were teaching me, but there is something only God and I have known for a long time. God worked through you to make me into the woman I am supposed to be. I almost feel sorry for you, babe, because God knew it would take the toughest and softest-hearted man on earth to get a hard-headed, cynical, hard-loving woman like me to see what God needed me to see. And he chose you for the job. He chose well. You taught me innocent, reckless love without abandon. You taught me how to turn a life full of fear into a life full of faith. You taught me that I could be more independent than I ever wanted to be. You taught me how to raise children with love and softness, and proved it could be done with a high standard of respect and old-fashioned values. You taught me that I could forgive more deeply than I thought I could. You taught me that I was actually able to hold my tongue in anger. By the way, I'm sorry that took so long. You taught me that even as a Yankee, I could learn to have a conversation with my slow-talking Texas man without interrupting. I swear, I never thought that was possible, and I know you thought that too. You taught me that I'm okay just the way I am. You taught me that no matter what life lays in front of you, it is unwise to worry or overthink it, because even in the worst of times, life has a way of working out. And you have showed me that in life, and even in death, some people are always with you. I love you, Chris. I love you. I love you.